Tonight will be an opportunity to hear from your candidates about their campaign and platform. This is your chance to decide who you want to represent your school next year. This town hall is being streamed live to City Schools TV on YouTube and will be shared on ASCBC's Instagram after tonight. We will start with an interview of the election, then we will pose 3 questions to the candidates. At the end of the town hall, you have an opportunity to pose your own questions to the candidates. If you're watching live and want to join the Microsoft team calls, please join by scanning the QR code or going to ASCBC Town Hall 25, where you'll be able to ask your own questions to the candidates. Is this an election? Tonight's town hall is part of Baltimore City Schools annual student commissioner and ASCBC election. Thanks to legislation passed at the state level last in 2023, Baltimore City students get to vote on the student commissioner and ASCBC officers. This gives Baltimore students a voice in who represents them. The election will take place May 19th to 22nd, and all Baltimore 6th and 12th graders will get to vote. So, who are your representatives that you'll be voting for in May? The student commissioner is your voice on the Baltimore City School Board. The board is the group of volunteers that oversee city schools, and they set the policies or the rules that all schools have to follow. They also make hiring decisions for city school leadership, and they approve the budget. The student commissioner has the power and responsibility to vote alongside the adult commissioner and to make good decisions that will impact all students under state law. Only high school students can vote for student commissioner. You'll also be voting for officers of the ASCBC or Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City. This Baltimore citywide student government organization, elected by all students grades 6 to 12, it represents Baltimore's youth and district level decision making. ASCBC gets called on to consult on all kinds of district level policies, from snow days going virtual to diversity policy to the policy that structures SGA and student-led organizations. Baltimore City departments, the Maryland legislature, and many other decisions-making body turns to ASCBC to represent Baltimore's youth. School-based SGA are the foundation of ASCBC. Now, I would like to introduce you all to your student monitors for tonight. All of these students, including me, serve on ASCBC's election committee, which is responsible for making sure that we have a fair election that engages as many students as possible. I allow each monitor to introduce themselves. So, hello, I'm Journey Norton. I'm a 9th grader at Baltimore Design School. Then
I'm Benjamin Grimaldi. I'm an 8th grader at Thomas Johnson Elementary Middle School.
Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Washington. I am a junior who attends Baltimore City College.
Now, I would like to introduce you to your candidates. Candidates, when you see your slide displayed on the screen, please unmute and share your name, your school, and the position you are running for.
Hello. Hi, I am Taylor Furling Taylor. I attend Western High School. I am a 10th grader, and I am running to be your next student commissioner.
Hi guys, I'm Zara Chicas Goodman. I go to P-Tech at Digital Harbor, and I'm running to be your next student commissioner.
Hello, everyone. My name is Isaiah Gregory, and I go to Baltimore Design School, and I'm running to be your next ASCBC president.
Hi, everybody. My name is Oheman Kamani. I'm a junior at Baltimore City College, and I'm running to be your next ASCBC president.
Hi, guys. My name is Amir Moore. I go to Baltimore Design School, and I'm running to be vice president of ASCBC.
Hi everyone, my name is Campbell Anderson. I'm a junior at City College and I'm running for ASCBC Vice President.
Hey, my name is Alex Yuma and I go to Baltimore City College, and the position that we're running for is Vice President.
My name is Rashid Kolawole, and I'm running to be the next middle school executive for the ASCBC.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Klaus, and I attend Woodham Elementary Middle School, and I'm running for the next ASCBC treasurer.
Everyone, my name is Jaden Moses. I attend Woodham Elementary and Middle School, and I'm running to be your next ASCBC secretary.
My name is Camille Vanderpool Bryant. I go to Texas County Elementary Middle School, and I'm running for Diversity Committee Chair.
Okay, so here are the town hall rules. I will pose 3 questions to all the candidates. Candidates receive these questions in advance. Each candidate will have 45 seconds to respond to each question. Candidates may pass. If a candidate goes over 45 seconds, our timekeeper, Ben, will unmute to stop the response. Candidates will answer the question in the same order we used for our introductions. Students may join the Microsoft Teams meeting at any time and submit their own questions in the chat. So here is the first question. In 5 words or less, what is the duty of the position that you're running for?
Alrighty, so the duty of a student commissioner is to listen, interpret, serve, and inspire. It is truly important to listen to your peers and constituents as we'll interpret their opinions and concerns to bring them to the board, serving them as it is our job, while inspiring them to keep speaking up for what they want to see in their community. Thank you.
And we'll ask candidates to limit their response to 5 words. We know that this is very brief.
Hi guys, so in 5 words or less, I think that the duty of a student commissioner is to empower voices and transform our future. Thank you.
The responsibilities for ACBC president, I believe, is to be a role model for the rest of the board and students across Baltimore City. And yes, thank you.
In 5 words or less, I believe the duty of ASCBC president is to lead the fight for advocacy.
The duty of ASCBC vice president is to listen, advocate, work hard, and 5 words or less, present.
Duty of the ASCBC vice president is to uplift and support our students.
The rules for vice president, I believe, is represent and amplify student voices.
I'm back. All right. I think that the duty of the middle school executive is to encourage student engagement and assume leadership.
I think the role for treasurer in 5 words or less is fundraising, record keeping, budgets, and advocating.
I believe that the secretary's job in 5 words or less is to record, maintain, and publish ASCBC affairs.
I think the duty of Diversity Committee Chair is to guide inclusion initiatives and policies.
Okay. Now, here is the second question. How will the goals in your platform help to change the future for all Baltimore City students?
And Dylan, you can go ahead and answer both questions. So answer the 5 words or less, and then 45 seconds for question 2.
Okay. The duty of the student commissioner is to make sure students are heard and getting the right education. And how will your platform goals help change the future? My platform goals will help change the future by increasing the funding for our students, for schools, and making sure the quality of the schools are met and taken care of.
The goals of my platform, which are to amplify student voices and inspire them, will change Baltimore City by being a peer resource to them and connecting with them to help their voices be heard, while at the same time encouraging them to speak out for what they believe in, which is a skill that will carry them through life.
My platform Bridge is a plan with realistic action that I can make and change that is extremely necessary. It builds up our communications, keeps students informed in the most reliable way, ensures access to me, whether it's about questions, comments, concerns, whether through text, emails, or in person at town halls, etc. It'll grow our leadership by connecting with SMOVs, MASC, events, giving Baltimore City students a bigger platform to influence. And I also plan to have workshops to inspire and share opportunities with students and constantly post opportunities online with reminders and summaries of positions, deadlines, etc. I will grow our student engagement and board meetings and other meetings to ensure that your ideas and voices shape our
You've reached
future.
the 45-second limit.
I believe that my platform goals, which is to enhance student representation, promote education equity, and foster civic engagement, is just an overall tool and necessity for students in Baltimore City to have and be aware of. And that is what I'm advocating on. I mean, that's what I'm campaigning on. So having those sets of skills is going to be beneficial to our students across Baltimore City so they're prepared for what's to come in the current administration.
One of the main focuses on my platform is to help bridge the gap of unequal opportunity within Baltimore schools. I've bear witness to many times to how many schools don't receive the same educational supports and extracurricular funding compared to others. When I say bridge the gap, I mean actively advocating for the same opportunities within all schools, whether this be through writing letters or showing up at school board meetings to give testimony. This will improve the future for all Baltimore City students by giving them an even playing field and making sure all students have an accurate environment to learn and grow.
What I plan to do is help raise students' engagement with schools. So I really want to put more programs out there so students can feel more happy coming to school and just bring up student engagement and I think I should come back to me. I don't know, my mind is somewhere else today.
I want to encourage more high school participation in General Assemblies so there can be more representation of older students during our assemblies. And by providing more opportunities for high school students to express their opinions, we could increase their engagement, and this would ultimately open doors for younger students to being open to speaking on about representation in both their school and in Baltimore. Students' voices will be able to reach a district level, and our activism and unity will make us grow stronger as a generation. Thank you.
Since my platform focuses on increasing mental health support and expanding access to extracurricular activities and improving school safety, these goals ensure every student feels supported, seen, and set up for long-term success inside or outside instructional time.
As the middle school executive, I plan to encourage a multitude of student activities to help motivate middle school students to participate in understanding policies so that we can help build confident leaders that will help create a stronger future for Baltimore City school students. And I also plan to set up monthly meetings where students can share their ideas and start leadership groups in each grade and talk to the ASCBC about what students need. Also, I just plan to help students grow. I plan to grow alongside them.
The goals for my platform is to make sure student funds are used to support things that matter to us, such as clubs, sports, events, mental health, and other priorities. And I will also help to create opportunities so students in Baltimore City can grow and lead.
My goals of my platform is to make sure that there are accurate minutes and transparent records, and I will also ensure that information is published on time and files are organized, and overall just making everything understandable to members of ASCBC and other students.
My goals, which are to increase student advocacy in certain minorities. Um, I'm sorry. My goals, as I go on, as I serve as diversity committee chair, I know for a fact that I will bring more people into, advocating for themselves, specifically certain minorities. Um, yeah.
All right, Journey, do you want to take us to our third question?
Sorry. Now here's the third question. How do you intend on raising student voices, encouraging leadership, and advocating for the interests of all Baltimore City students?
I intend on raising student voice by holding more listening sessions with the board and having more outside meetings that students can attend. I will make sure that all students around Baltimore City are heard and making sure that the board is actually acting on the concerns that are brought to them.
To raise student voice and leadership, I'll focus on three pillars: advocacy, inclusion, and implementation. Advocacy means showing up for all students and creating regular listening sessions across the city so every student voice is heard. Inclusion means building leadership spaces that reflect all of us, students of every background, ability, and identity. And implementations means making sure our input leads to real change. From school policy to budgeting, as student commissioner, I'll make sure a student voice is not just heard, but acted on.
I'm extremely passionate and committed to making a space where everyone is heard and their ideas are deeply considered. I'll constantly work on motivating students to change their future and make a real impact. I'll motivate students to participate in events where they can influence policymaking, build a strong relationship with city students so that their concerns and whatever they believe is important are addressed by the Board of Commissioners. And my goal is to unite all of us and empower us to be leaders through meetings and etc. Thank you.
For me, and as I have been doing, I will I intend on raising the student voices by continuing to advocating in Annapolis about things that impact students in the city, about legislative bills and whatnot that impact us. I'm also promoting educational equity. We have been unrepresented for a long time and underfunded, so continue to push for that sense of uh, that gap to closing up, fighting that change, and then also fostering. Pushing to foster like civic engagement, making students more aware of these opportunities where they can participate in legislative affair day, legislative advocacy day. I'm sorry. So continue to push for those type of opportunities for our students. That was how I intend on doing that.
My first step to raising student voices and encouraging leadership will be to increase engagement with ASCBC. I will do this by educating all middle school and high school SGAs on what ASCBC does, starting with like sending them brochures about our different committees. Through increasing student engagement with ASCBC, I'll be able to accurately advocate for all students because I'll actually know what they want. I think another big step will also be giving students the chance to interact with higher up policymakers through like things like City Hall SGA Day or Annapolis Legislative Affairs Day.
I want to increase student voices and help them engage by adding new programs into different schools so I can help them network. For instance, I mentor programs or mindfulness programs, but there are different mentors coming to schools, helping them out and giving them career paths to anywhere they want to go. But saying networking as in making these programs go to different schools so they can get the opportunity they need And with the mindfulness programs, I want them to be able to have leadership of their own. For instance, if they be a mindfulness ambassador, they're able to help calm students down whatever they need. And with student-led tutoring programs, of course,
You've reached the 45-second mark.
Thanks for telling me.
Okay. I feel like a lot of times our students are sometimes feel like they aren't really heard or really their opinions aren't really valued. But I think ASCBC has given them an opportunity to represent and voice their opinions. So I would connect to schools across this district talking about starting an SGA and encouraging them to participate in assemblies such as MASC and ASCBC and in our General Assembly. And also, so they would be able to give an opinion about their concerns and issues, and also inviting them to protests and rallies to show the impact of being united as students.
I'll build stronger communication with students and decision makers by hosting regular feedback forums, spotlighting student concerns at every school board meeting, and creating leadership networks so more students from all backgrounds can lead and be heard.
Okay, I kind of said too much in my last statement, so I'm just going to reiterate. I will set up monthly meetings where students can share their ideas. This way, all Baltimore City students can speak up, be heard, and ultimately make our schools better.
I will raise student voices, leadership, and advocate for their interests by making sure student voices guide how funds are being. Sorry. I will make sure student voices guides how funds are used to listen ideas and what matters to students. I will make sure financial decisions are made to promote student leadership and make sure financial decisions are made in the best interest of students.
Working with the vice president and president to share ideas and concerns and to keep accurate information to keep everyone properly informed. And I will also make sure the priorities of students are properly heard by other members of the team.
As diversity committee chair, I plan to elevate student voices by creating inclusive spaces for open dialogue and leadership. I'll advocate for equitable policy that reflect the diverse needs of all Baltimore City students, ensuring every student feels seen, heard, and valued.
Thank you for your responses, candidates. At this time, we will take questions from the students attending the town hall. If you'd like to pose a question to the candidates, please type it in the chat. If you hadn't joined the Microsoft meeting, you can join by scanning the QR code or going to ASCBC Town Hall 25. Our chat moderator will be reviewing and selecting your questions. Please ensure that all students are school appropriate and connect to the election.
Okay, so we do have two things in the chat. One needs clarification. One was, could we ask position specific questions, and are they supposed to be to the board, to be broad? My bad. If you could answer that, Ms. Tilt.
Sure. I would say ideally it should be a question that all the candidates can answer. But if you have a position-specific question, perhaps you could reframe it in a way that all the candidates could participate. But Scott, if you want to start with the second question while our other contributor writes their question, that would be great.
Sure. Okay, so we did get a question from Brooke. She says, although it is ideal to pursue each of your platforms, how do you plan on achieving them with all the restrictions that are put into place?
I plan on achieving them by first making sure that by first making sure Wait, can someone explain the question, please?
I believe she's asking how you plan on achieving everything that you say you've done with everything that's already like all the restrictions that are already in place within like the government and stuff like that.
Oh,
Wait, can I explain my question?
Go ahead.
I was more so asking, like, everyone's ideas are kind of like keeping students engaged or trying to make this meeting and that meeting happen. But how do you plan on putting them into action, even though you have to like go through some of the, I want to say maybe legal proceedings or making sure that all students will be able to attend and stuff like that without just doing something without getting approval and stuff?
Well, first I will make sure that I'm doing everything by the book, so that way there isn't any backlash on me or the board. And then I would make sure that anything that I do for the students are accessible to all of them, so that everyone is able to see what I as a student commissioner can do and see what the board does on a daily basis.
Okay, so Dylan took my answer right out of my mouth. Okay, so I had the same thought. Just making sure everything legally is in the right place, doing things by the book, as my peers said, as well as making sure everything is accessible to the students, as well as putting out these things where they're going to see them. A lot of people say like putting posters up. Students aren't looking at around their school for posters. They're on Instagram, they're on TikTok. So using those platforms as a way to actually grasp the students' attention is definitely a way I would go about that.
So, wait, can you guys hear me? Basically, asking adults what I can and can't do first and foremost, constantly trying to find different methods and variations, having them online, having like these meetings, which most likely I feel like the question was about meetings, having them online, possibly have adults with me when having these meetings, of course, making sure everything is by the book, allowing people to come to me through media and keeping everything professional. And like Taylor has said, posters are still going to be a thing in my opinion, but media is definitely something that I'm definitely going to prioritize, as well as word of mouth and contacting principals, etc., so that they can boost these opportunities. Thank you.
Well, to answer your question, honestly, the work that I'm speaking about is work that we've already been doing with ACBC. It's just to continue to push the narrative. We did a lot of work, and I think we had a lot of exposure this year in the State House. We had our executive board members go give testimony. I want to encourage more students to give testimony and, just be out there in the spotlight, advocate for the fight, advocate for the change that they believe in. And so I don't think there will be many restrictions with doing that because we already been doing it. So, we just continue to push that narrative, push that motive, and just fighting against the narrative for Baltimore City students that they have, that others place on Baltimore City students that we're not smart enough, we're not great enough. Fighting that narrative. So that's what I still don't think there'll be many restrictions for that.
Okay, first I want to say thank you, Brooke, so much for this question. But the way I would combat this is by first like having a set plan. So if something does switch or if something does change, I'm able to adapt quickly. And I like to say that like a quote I live by is like, if you want it to, you would. So like if my top 3 goals on my platform are increasing student engagement and bridging the gap of unequal opportunity within Baltimore schools. So I just feel like I'm so passionate about it that even if there is like a block on a certain idea, like I'll find a way to do it in a different way that's like okay with the adults.
Okay, so with the plans I really want to pursue, I don't think I will have any really restrictions with it. The only thing I can really think of is funding, and the real only solution to the funding is fundraisers. That's to pay the mentors and to pay the mindfulness leaders. But with that, I really really need to connect with more adults more because everything really starts with adults. Like students really can't start anything unless it's like a club. So with that, I will network with multiple people that are connected with those programs and get students involved. And if we don't have the funds to pay these people, fundraising.
Kind of a tiny bit piggybacking off of what Amira said. Kind of, we have the similar idea that I don't have as many barriers with my plan. Encouraging participation and getting more students in the room where the change is happening is important and really important, and that can be happened by like visiting a school and asking them and like sharing about ASCBC and like starting an SGA, or talking about things that they can do at their school to promote participation and advocacy. And it's also, all these things are free, so well, maybe not the transportation part, but everything else is free, so yeah.
Um, I'll say being able to follow the book and buy everything that the book says, and being able to ask the admin of ACBC on how ACBC is managed. And for example, if you want to go campaign on other schools, you gotta ask on what the policy is to avoid any complications within the school and etc. And just being able to follow the guidelines and books and to just avoid struggle.
Rashid, are you with us?
So I would see what I could do with all the the rules and stuff, and I would try to manage with I would try to manage to get people's voices. Like I forgot who said it, but like go to different schools and stuff to like see what SDAs say, and if I have the ability to, and see what people would have the interest to do.
Restrictions are put on my plan. I would try to figure out ways how to overcome it by asking adults and students and also communicating with everybody so that the outcome is acceptable and easy to adapt to.
All right. To answer this question, with my personal job, I don't feel like there's any certain limitations or restrictions. However, with ACBC, I'm aware that there's a legislative committee, and their job is to like go over the laws and everything, or just go over like rules and regulations. So firstly, I would probably check with them before doing anything or making a certain move, and then just do my own research. Obviously, not doing anything that would embarrass, anybody, or doing anything that just is, out there. But yeah.
Okay, while Miss Tilt is changing the slide, we did get another question from Zana. I hope I'm saying that correctly. She asked, how would you include middle and high school students from across the city in your advocacy?
I will include middle and high school students from across the city in my advocacy by doing daily check-ins with them, posting Q&As and Google Forms on the Baltimore City Public Schools page and my Instagram page, and on the websites, um, that they can have access to them 24/7, so that they can voice their concerns and opinions. I will also make sure that I go out in the field visiting schools and seeing how everything is.
I have a similar answer. Just being a resource Like the former said, checking in with these people. Well, checking in with my peers because they are my peers. Checking in with them, making sure everything's all right, getting their opinions, and actually like going hands on and talking to them, having a heart to heart conversation. Because I know when someone just asking something of you online, it may not seem as though they care, and I want them to know that I care. So I want to actually have conversations with these young people, get their opinion, bring it back to the board, and serve them as I should.
So, I plan to mainly contact them through general assemblies and their SGAs and ask SGAs to sponsor events, and of course, like I said earlier, have forms that students can have access to through my social media and other web links that I have. I also plan to host town halls and other meetings, come to high schools/middle schools, talking with their admin and their student leaders to discuss possible concerns that they may have. And yeah, thank you.
You'll have to excuse me. But to answer the question of how include middle school and high school students, there's like ASCB has a legacy. We already been doing we already been doing the collaboration and whatnot, but we can come together as a team to find different ways to bring about that engagement. I know that I believe it was our fall, we had the biggest turnout, the largest at our GA. So having more of that type of energy, seeing what better at that GA than the other ones, is something I look forward to, looking into, so that we can increase those numbers and have a better overall outcomes.
The first way I would do this would be by connecting with school SGAs, getting first count basis from what the students say on what they need. Second would be connecting with students at GA, having like Google Forms for them to fill out with any concerns they have. And three would be by being active on social media. As we all know, like students are super active on like TikTok and Instagram. So just being active on there and allowing students space to connect with me.
All right, so since campaigning, of course, students been asking me questions about my campaign. And at the end, I will always tell them I'm always open to suggestions. Like, for an example, me and Isaiah just did a presentation not too long ago, and I did a video on students' issues that they have with Baltimore City Public Schools. And with that, it's just, I feel talking to students face to face and asking them questions, getting their input, not just high school, middle schools, not just my school, all schools, and going to events, seeing what they go through at their schools, and I feel like talking to students face to face will really help me along the way.
Hi. Well, Hema and Amir, kind of, we have the same ideas, but reaching out to middle schools and high schools about SGAs and following up with their advisors about how their SGA is doing, and then talking to them during like general assemblies or during mask events about talking to them one-on-one on how they feel about things pertaining to their committees, not to their committees, to their, sorry, to their, how they feel about the events and how they feel their voices are represented.
Sorry. I'll say being able to represent students from middle school and high school by being able to focus on schools SGA and being able to ask the SGAs to be able to collaborate with students within the schools and just being able to put out forums and being able to put social media Google Forms so that we can get feedback on them, and regardless if you're in SGA or not, because all voices should be heard.
All right, so I plan to organize student policy forums where students can discuss school policies and provide feedback at, like on certain aspects of what they might want to provide feedback on. Um, this will encourage active participation and help students gain an understanding of the policy making process.
So I feel like I can have conversations with people, like face to face in person to get what they to have an idea of what students want, and also go to school events to see also what they want, and we can all get their opinion to of like what they want.
Uh, I would go around asking middle school and high school students about their concerns and interests, and I would also like host meetings on accessible platforms and see how what their concerns are and see how I can include them and make them feel included and make their voices heard.
As a current middle school student, I know, like the problems that people have diversity wise with Baltimore City. I have my own personal issues. And I'm going into high school and I plan, as I'm starting next year, to get involved in the community and get involved. And honestly, so my initiatives, I would probably, you know, like post forums or stuff like that. Um, but knowing what the people want is such a big issue, and having connections. I mean, knowing what the people want is such a big deal, and having connections is such a it's very, very great in this specific sorry, in this specific role I'm applying for. So I would honestly just make sure I would talk to certain people, get ideas, reach out, and yeah.
Okay, we did get a question from Cameron. Cameron asked, what does a successful term look to you, and how would you measure your impact and ASCBC's impact?
A successful term looks like to me is some like checking off all the boxes that I have put on my checklist and making sure that I see change across the board.
A successful term to me is being able to look back on all the things I've done throughout that school year and being able to say, yes, I made a change. Yes, I've touched these students. And yes, I've seen this impact across the board. I will measure, that's how I will measure my success, being able to look back and say that, yes, I did it. And yes, I did what I needed to do. And that I have actually helped these students in what they needed.
An ideal term to me is one where I can reach my main three goals, implement my platform, put my contact information out there so the students are able to access me. It would look like students coming to board meetings, growing their curiosity and leadership, running for greater leadership positions, having more student leaders participating in bigger policymaking, like events across Maryland. It would be a term where we are heard by our city and state, and most importantly, I could see that I did succeed in this by knowing that I truly connected with students and ensuring that their concerns were addressed as much as possible by me and the Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
For me, a successful term would look like um, just kind of expanding on what we've already been doing. Well, taking a new step. I'm all about change, and so like just kind of revamping things. Also increase students' engagement with like specific I guess adventures or whatnot. Having more students like campaigning, Habidar rallies at Annapolis, testifying on budgets. I just want more student engagements with that. I think that the state needs to see and hear more student voices, not just in ASCBC or not just from the executive board of ASCBC, but from the students. And I think we had a large turnout in Annapolis. So having more students do that and come out and so like really show their interest in care and like understanding of
Your time
issues
is up.
will be great for us. So thank you.
A successful term to me means progress. Being able to see that like I've made an impact. Emphasizing again on my platform, one of my biggest things was bridging the gap of unequal opportunity within Baltimore schools. So I will measure this. The way I'll measure my success is if I've been able to have impact on a school in some way, whether that be helping them advocate for more funding, helping them create a better SGA. That's how I'll measure my progress.
What a successful term would like to me is smile on the faces. By the end of the year, by the end of my term, if I see those smiles, that happiness from students saying, "Oh, you really did this. Oh, ASCBC really writes that," and that's what a successful term looks to me. And I'll measure it by, like a Q&A or I'll do a Q&A at the end of the year, and if students are like, "Hey, you really made a big change." Not even students, I'm sorry, staff members as well, anyone that's working for Baltimore City Public Schools, saying that these changes that are made and how good they were, and yeah.
Your time is.
I would measure it by seeing an increase in high school participation in both in both of the assemblies, and then talking to students one-on-one about how they feel about how effective the issues they presented during the assemblies, how effective they were met, and also seeing our students just in general, like over the next, or how do I say this, when like I leave, I guess, because I'm a junior and I'll be senior next year, when they go on, like seeing them still advocating and still speaking up.
A successful term means students feeling heard and seen. And I agree with Dylan by being able to check all the boxes of the goals that I wanted to will accomplish in the future. And just being able to create a strong communication across school boards and getting more students involved and start meeting in the ACBC.
Okay, a successful term as a middle school executives to me would be enhancing student engagement and policy discussions, um, uh, making students strive to actively participate in forums and discussions. I would also like to develop um, leadership skills in a lot of middle school students, and I would like to implement middle school and high school student, collaboration, mentorship of middle school and high school students. And I feel like personally.
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
I think a successful term as a treasurer is that people are happy with what they are with and what they had the opportunity to get, and I'm measuring it by giving people the voice to have the opportunity to decide of what they're having in school.
Successful term to me would be meeting all the requirements of my role, going above and beyond to include all students, and overall making a good change across schools and having a positive impact on the students.
A successful team to me honestly just looks like um, completing the goals that I've written down, as diversity committee chair, which, completing the goals that I have, comparing and contrasting, like what I could have done better. But also going back on what I said earlier, having connections in both, middle school and high school is very important. Because you could do better in one area and do bad in one, or not bad, but not do the same in another. So honestly, I would connect with the people, ask what I could have done better, ask what I like, basically just go over my woes and my grows.
And Scott, I believe we have time for one more question. So if you want to select one more from the chat, we can do that.
Okay, we do have one. We have another one from Brooke. Brooke ask, how do you plan on balancing and your position? And are you willing to make sacrifices in certain areas to give ASCBC and student advocacy your full focus?
I plan on balancing school and my position by making sacrifices. Say if I have a meeting at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday and a homework assignment that's due the same day, I will go to the meeting and stay up late at night to make sure my work is done, just so that I myself is so myself feels achieved at the end of the day that one, I did something good for Baltimore City, and two, I got my work done.
I do plan on balancing my school and work-life balance, definitely by making sacrifices. Maybe not taking those courses that may take up, all of my night, knowing that I have a meeting right after school, or maybe not having to wait to do that homework when it's due, instead doing it the same day I got it. So when it's due, I don't have to worry about it, knowing that I have a meeting that day, or knowing that I have anything to do that day, or not involve myself in everything and trying to be everything when I have priorities to you guys as my peers and as my constituents that I will be serving if I become your next student commissioner.
So, I'm more than willing to sacrifice certain areas to give student advocacy my full focus. I believe that as a student commissioner, you are for the students, by the students, therefore your highest priority should be them, because the actions and choices you make as commissioner affects all of city school students, not just you. I plan to stay very well scheduled. I plan to balance this by ensuring my academic attitude is at its best it can be, and knowing that this role is very important and therefore should always be addressed constantly and to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Honestly, for me, I believe like just keeping a clear and honest, transparent communication between the team, like letting them know everybody have things to do besides school. We all are just really, excellent students, but just, making sure the team is aware that certain things are coming up, but also just prioritize, if we have in those meetings, try to ensure that if I have work that day, just to call out of work for that day, or just let my boss know, hey, I need to take at least a certain hours off, have a meeting like that, just to prepare in advance, so that way we're not, cutting into the schedule like, oh, I gotta make these quick arrangements, because that's gonna be very stressful. So that's how I plan on doing it, and keeping honest and transparent communication to the team, so that we all thrive and nobody's slacking me out and picking up somebody else's slack. Thank you.
Uh, I'm already a very well-rounded student, from being a two-season athlete to being a student government to being in internships, and I already do an amazing job balancing this. I'll do the same with being ASCBC president. The way I do this is by being honest with people, planning out dates ahead of time. So if I know that something will clash, just being able to maybe skip a practice or skip a game, so I know I'll be able to be there for ASCBC. And I am willing to make sacrifices because I believe that all good things require sacrifice.
So I think everything will just balance it out itself. I mean, I don't really do anything at home. Like, I have all the time in the world. I don't have a job or anything, and I'm pretty sure I won't have no one next year. So, balancing life out will be pretty easy, doing school stuff at school. We already pretty much don't really have homework, and I am a president of one club and a president of a committee, and honestly, that stuff really just handles itself as long as you get help from other people and, just having not tight schedule, a clean schedule.
I'm gonna be a bit honest. I'm in a lot of clubs. I'm in 6 or more. And there's a lot of priorities, and I agree with that. The priorities are to the students, but also at the end of the day, I think also this should be telling other candidates on the screen here that it also should be to yourself also, because there's so many times where I had to cancel diversity meetings because I was just overwhelmed with work. But when I did do that, I did communicate with my committee that I had to cancel, and I organized accordingly and I rescheduled it, and it worked out in the end. But prioritizing mental health with schoolwork and that also helps. So yeah.
um, Balancing school and leadership also takes a lot of discipline, and you also need to I mean, sorry, you also need to be organized. You also need to take action on things that should be done earlier, and just not being able to let's procrastinate, and being able to finish all my work on time before the deadline, and just being able to sacrifice for students because you are being chosen for a role that requires your full attention towards students and not just yourself.
So to balance school and my position in the ASCBC, I would have to make strategies to prioritize some things. And before all else, I would have to identify my academic and leadership commitments. And I would implement effective time management, such as using calendars to schedule what time I would study, what time I would, some days study, host meetings, and personal things. Um, I could also reduce some personal time things such as games and stuff like that that
Your
won't really
time
benefit
is
me.
up.
All right, thank you.
I feel like I can balance out the schools and positioning by in my position by giving all schools a fair chance and everything about like the materials and stuff, giving everyone their needs, and I feel like I can balance my position by um I feel like I have a lot of time in the world. I don't really be doing stuff, so I have I can really balance it out. I can attend meetings. I can do all of that, and yeah.
Jaden?
Opposition. I would like set alarms and use a calendar app so that I won't forget anything. And I would also use a calendar app so that I could like set like an event so like I won't have events colliding with each other. So and I can also use that to make time for meetings and other ASCBC events that might be happening at that time. And yeah.
Applying for the position, I've currently in contact with the current diversity committee chair or Campbell, and something I learned that she told me was to put myself first. And honestly, with ASC, I know it's a very, very, very big position to have. However, I don't plan to slack or anything. I don't plan to put in lackadaisical amount of effort, but at some point in time, if things are, getting really, really stressful, things are getting, it's like a lot going on, I definitely plan to put myself first because, like I it's probably going to be a lot and I have to, plan my time accordingly. I plan everything accordingly, but putting yourself first is so important. And especially going into high school, going into your new horizons.
Okay. Thank you, candidates and students, for attending the ASCBC Candidate Town Hall tonight. We hope you've gained insight into our candidates and their campaigns. You can learn more on ASCBC's election page, bit.ly/ASCBC election. There, you can find a full photo guide and campaign videos from each of our candidates. We hope you'll explore these resources and share them to your friends. And these are the important election dates. All 6th through 12th grade students will have an opportunity to vote on May 19th to 22nd. Your school should be announcing the election and giving students time to vote during that window. You can also vote at any time, May 19th through 2nd through 22nd at eballot.app/VSCP CPS. That concludes our town hall for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to learn more, cast your vote, and have your voice heard.